everybody. Welcome back to another PODMAS episode of God Built This Podcast. I'm your host, Maxine, and we're on episode 5 of PODMAS 2021. Let's get into Jim Crow Joe. Jim Crow Joe? Jim Crow Joe. Can't say that 5 times. Jim Crow Joe, I'm already stumbling. But he fails us once again. Jim Crow Joe has made it abundantly clear that he is not keeping up with his promises, as all politicians do. And I'm not even going to put all the blame on him. This is just a politician thing. They say one thing during their presidential campaign, and when they get what they want, they completely forget of the little people, the promises that they made, and just all of the hope that they built upon for their voters to vote for them. And once they're in office, they're suddenly oblivious to the promises that they made. So Jim Crow Joe had his whole presidential campaign, not the whole thing of it, but I remember him talking a lot about wanting to put an end to student loan repayments and how student loan is predatory, and just the loaner banks, they're predatory upon students, and students shouldn't have to pay off their student loans 30 years post-grad, and all of this seemingly nice and considerate and thoughtful rhetoric, when in all actuality you have the complete opposite. When he's in office, he completely forgets about that, and now student loan repayment will resume in February of 2022. I mean, look, at this point, I mean, are we surprised? Apparently, Biden, when he was a senator, he voted for a policy that wouldn't allow people to file bankruptcy on your student loans. So he is in favor, he's in cahoots, he's in bed with the student loaners, and he is on their team. He's not going to continue to suspend student loan payments, and not just suspend them, but eradicate them altogether. And, you know, I'm not a student loan connoisseur as far as all the intricate details of if it is possible to eradicate student loans. I feel like, you know, yes, it is. It really is. Like, the way that people make it out to seem is like, if you just write a letter, shouldn't it be all erased? Like, I don't know. Like, it could all be that easy is what I'm getting at. And I just don't feel like the excuses are enough for me to be like, oh, well, he's only a president. A president could do so much. I remember having an argument with a friend, a former friend, and she was excusing Obama's lack of effort towards uplifting more Black communities, or the Black community in general, and really putting in policies and laws that are beneficial to the Black community, and just really starting the whole push towards reparations for African Americans. And her excuse was, well, he can't do so much, and he was only in office for 2 full terms, and he could only do so much. Just like not really saying much in her rebuttal, which made her look even more foolish. But the point is that a lot of people think like this. A lot of people think that the president don't have power, and that the president can't figure out ways to still meet the people's needs and still lift communities that have been disenfranchised. You know, it's so strange to me how there are more policies in place for Asian American groups, transgender groups, LGBTQIA plus groups, yet it's an arm and a pull and a leg and all these things to push the bare minimum for African Americans and those who come from just direct lineage to slavery. So I will not take that excuse. I would not take that that rhetoric, oh, well, a president can only do so much. What can it do? Because a president is clearly doing enough for other minority groups, yet for African Americans, it's nothing. Nothing can be done, and it's years and years and decades of segregation and uncivil rest. And it's like, okay, so what are we doing to get us back up? Because there's really no excuse at this point. So yeah, Jim Crow Joe fails us once again. And I say once again because how he's been handling the pandemic, the scamdemic really, is another failure in my opinion. Him not emphasizing on how to build back up economies that have been broken and just completely just erased, completely disregarded when it comes to how they were able to survive during the economic shutdown. What are these small businesses, these family owned businesses going to do now when they are told to shut down, or if you want to continue business, then you're going to have to continuously pay a fine? And yet you have big corporation stores such as Target, Walmart, etc. that are open for business nonstop, that are considered as essential workplaces. What about the mom and pop shop around the corner? Is that not essential to that family who owns that shop? Is that not essential to the children who are dependent upon their parents, their caregivers, to have their parents make a profitable living, for them to live a sustainable or just even survive in this world? What is essential? What's essential? What does essential mean? Is it only essential if it benefits bigger corporations than it does small, quote unquote, ones? I just think the way that he's handling the scamdemic, the way that he is continuously pushing more fear-based mongering media and news is a failure. It's a failure to the people. You have a lot of people out here who are very impressionable, who will do whatever CNN says, who will do whatever local news says, and will continue to be a part of the hysteria Ferris wheel that we're on. People can't get off of it. It's mask up or die. It's mask up or eat. Or like, it's always a mask is what I'm saying. You're wearing a mask when you go to bed. You wear a mask while brushing your teeth. You wear a mask in the shower. People are afraid. It's to the point where people are afraid of showing their full face. And not just afraid of showing their full face, they don't even know what their full face looks like anymore, because their face has now been taken over, has now been usurped by a mask. I have students, young, impressionable high schoolers, who have grown so independent upon these face masks that they're afraid to show their full face. They're literally afraid of showing their full face. I remember I had a new advisee come into my advisory group of girls, and she's new to the school. And she approaches me and says, hey, my name is so-and-so. According to my schedule, you're my new advisor. And I'm like, okay, great. And let me double check for confirmation. And it is so. She is a new advisee that I have. Okay, great. So she's, of course, wearing her mask, because at that time, and still is, it's a strange thing. But anyway, students are still required to wear masks. So is staff, unfortunately. But brighter days are ahead, okay? But so she's wearing her mask, and I asked her, can you pull it down so I can see your full face, so I could just have an idea of what you look like fully? And when I tell you, the pinkness in her face brightened up. Like, she was so afraid, so blushed out, so uncomfortable with the idea of showing her full face. Like, oh my gosh, do you not have a mouth? Did you lose your nose? Half of your nose, is it gone? Like, are you deformed? Is there something wrong? And so when she complied, and maybe the way maybe me asking is borderline offensive now. Like, oh, if I ask you to show me your full face and you're uncomfortable with that, is that harassment now? Do I have a case against me? At this point, you got to watch what you say when it comes to mask wearing and not wearing it at the same time. So anyway, so she did pull it down. And she's a beautiful girl. So I'm like, oh, you look great. I don't know why. I mean, if she didn't look great, I'm not going to be like, oh, girl, put that mask back up, girl. What? I understand. No, she looked fine, like a young, pretty girl. And I'm like, why are you acting like that? And I'm going on this spiel because some of my students know how much I hate. Well, all of them know, but some of them really know, like, the details of why I just hate it. And, like, why it just disgusts me. And, I'm going on this rant, and I'm just like, see, wearing masks is desocializing young kids and older people as well. But I'm like going on this brief rant talking about how it is messing up the psyche of young girls and just young people in general, and how dependent they are upon masks to just hide their insecurities, to make them feel secure. This false sense of security, though, because ultimately, you know how you look like without the mask, though, right? Like, it's not a lie. Yet people have created a new identity with their mask. They put a lot of emphasis on their eyes I'm talking about young girls. So they put a lot of emphasis on their eye makeup, mascara, making sure their eyes are big and bright. Their lashes are long and in place, because a lot of my girls wear falsies. So yet everything from that point down, they're completely insecure about. So they have this crutch of mask wearing for whatever insecurity that they're trying to hide. It's just really sick. So I think about the generations later, or not even just like, not to make it dramatic, but just, I don't know when this mask wearing will finally be a thing of the past. But let's say a year from now, 2 years from now, oh God, I don't want to say that, but let's just say a year from now, max, hopefully. It really should be less. So, but anyway, let's say, whatever time from now, people have spent a good amount of time in their lives being protected by this false sense of security, by this blanket. And yet when it's time to show your real self and come in the nude, as they say, they are now completely uncomfortable with themselves. And when I started this podcast, the motivation behind this podcast was to be my authentic self at all times, to not allow intimidation to get in the way of my authenticity, to not allow pressure get in the way of my authenticity, to not allow anyone, anything, or even myself and these expectations that I have of myself, to not even allow that get in the way of who I truly am. And when we're living in this time of young girls, young boys feeling so afraid of showing their face, that is completely in misalignment with my mission here on earth. My mission to really just encourage people to embrace their identity, embrace who they are. So it's just really disheartening. Anyway, Jim Crow Joe fails us yet again. Let's get into Nancy Reagan. Throw baby. Hello. If you haven't heard, Nancy Reagan, who is deceased, so this might be ill to even say it, but I mean, if it happened, you know what, it is what it is. It is what it is. Women give head, like, okay? As you should. Give head and give it well. I don't want to say, I don't know where I'm going to get it with this part of the conversation. I think head giving is essential on both sides, right? Anyway, that's all. That's the only part I wanted to get at. But anyway, Nancy Reagan is a throat baby. And what I mean by that is not even rumors, information has resurfaced, and I'm saying resurfaced because there was a point in time when this was a known fact, and it has come to light yet again just recently. And it has come to light because Ben Shapiro's sister, her name is Abigail Shapiro. She is known for her, I guess she has a popular social media platform, and her brand is about living more like a classy woman than a trashy woman. And look, depending on how you're raised as a young lady, there are ideals and beliefs that are embedded in you in how a woman should behave, and how a woman should look, and how a woman should appear overall. And clearly, Abigail Shapiro is one of those women who were raised more conservatively, more just reserved. And I'm not gonna knock that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Though I do find it pretty unfortunate, to say the least. I'm running out of a better word for that. But it's unfortunate when we judge other women and how they dress and how they carry themselves. Like, if that's not what you want to do with yourself, then let that be so. If that's not what you want your young girls to appear, then let that, teach your children the way you want them to be taught. That's fine. But anyway, Abigail Shapiro, she has a platform that emphasizes more on classy than trashy. Recently, she tweeted a photo of Madonna, and Madonna is currently, she's 63 at this time. Well, she's 63, and she's in this photo, she's on a bed, one titty's out, and we all know Madonna. Like, every time I think of Madonna, I remember that moment on MTV VMAs when she kissed, she three-way tongue kissed Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. Like, I would never forget that. I was a young girl being influenced by cable TV, which is why my dad did not want us to have cable. So we didn't have cable until later on in our adolescence. But anyway, I saw that. I remember seeing that, and I was taken aback, like, oh my gosh. But Madonna we all know her to be very raunchy, just out there, and she owns her sexuality, and she's open about it, and that's just who she is. And it is what it is. Like, okay, like, if that's not for you, that's not for you. That's fine. So anyway, Abigail Shapiro posted this picture of Madonna on her bed, one titty out, while the rest of her body is clothed, but is still scantily clothed and provocative. And juxtaposed to that picture is a picture of Nancy Reagan, who is aged in the photo at the age of 64. And she's standing with her family, her large family, her husband, Ronald Reagan, and their kids, and even their grandkids at that time. So you see these two pictures juxtaposed together, clearly contrasting what a 60-year-old woman looks like, or how a 60-year-old woman ought to behave according to Abigail Shapiro. And her caption is, "This is Madonna at 63. This is Nancy Reagan at 64. Trashy living versus classy living. Which version of yourself do you want to be?" Dun dun. So yeah, that's the question that she's asking. And look, again, she comes from a background of more conservative wearing and living and just being as a young lady. And that is her perspective, and I respect that. So this picture she posted just motivated people to go ahead and dig into Nancy Reagan's past. And come to find out, Nancy isn't as classy as Abigail Shapiro thinks she is. So Nancy Reagan is known to have the best blowjob in Hollywood back in the day. Okay? And I quote, in the 1992 unauthorized biography of Nancy, this biography is called Washington Babylon, it is noted that, quote, Nancy was renowned in Hollywood for performing oral sex, not only in the evening, but in offices. that was one of the reasons that she was very popular on the MGM lot. And the MGM lot just means the Hollywood lot, where often movies will be filmed. So she's known for doing what she does best with her mouth. Hello? And that's probably where she met Ronald Reagan, because we know Ronald Reagan was a movie star prior to him becoming a president. All these have some fun facts with them. And it's just very interesting to me how society has tried to wash away the dirty Oval Office that it really is. It really isn't this sophisticated and most proper place ever. Like, hello, Bill Clinton and I'm about to say Marilyn Monroe. Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. Prior to that, we have JFK and Fiddle and Faddle, to say the very least, and Marilyn Monroe. And let's talk about Fiddle and Faddle. First of all, I learned of these two nicknames based off of a show that I was binging on a few days ago, which is SVU, because hello, SVU is still thebomb.com. I don't care how many years it's been, SVU will always have my viewership every time. Hello? So anyway, on an episode of SVU this season, because I was binging it, and there was 9 episodes available, and I watched all of them on Sunday. Hello? Anyway, so Fiddle and Faddle was brought up on this episode of SVU, and it was brought up because, on SVU, there's always like this dun dun dun, dun 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 dun. I hope I'm doing it right. But anyway, one of the pedophiles, he was talking to these underage girls and saying, oh, you could be the new Fiddle and Faddle. And the girls are like, who's Fiddle and Faddle? And he says, oh, Fiddle and Faddle, their sole job was to skinny dip with the president. You could be my Fiddle and Faddle. And he was a politician in the show. So I'm like, huh? Everything, once my curiosity is sparked, I'm on the Googler. I'm going to find the answers. I'm going to find fun facts. I'm going to find some theories that I could attach myself to and run with. And I sure did. So Fiddle and Faddle is the nicknames, the pet names given to 2 young White House interns whose name is not Fiddle and Faddle. they had real old school name, like Mary Louise type of names. And they were JFK's sole skinny dipper job assistants. Okay, literally their job was to skinny dip with the president in the White House, in the pool, whatever he wanted. And that's what they did. And that's what they did. Now, I was wondering, were they underage? What was going on? I think they were college age, 19, 18, 20, which, look, is young, but it passes the line. So it's legal, right? And so this is just another example of how the Oval Office is not this white, pristine place. Niggas was fucking in there. Niggas was sucking dick. Women was sucking dick there. This is a thing. And to paint it I know when Obama was in office, and after that Trump was in office, and they compared the first ladies. So we see these academic pictures of Michelle Obama and the prestige that she holds. And then we see Melania Trump and her nude ass, okay, her boobs, everything being what was those type of wives that you marry abroad? Anyway, those bride away, something like that. But third world brides, I don't know, but it was not a love story type of thing. But anyway, you juxtapose that together and you see completely contrasting appearances. But I mean, at the end of the day, the Oval Office is not this pristine white cleanliness, pure place. Niggas are fucking. Dicks are being sucked at the Oval Office. And it is so. So, it was just funny that this news came about after Abigail Shapiro posted this tweet trying to paint this angelic image of Nancy Reagan, when it was like, girl, do you really know Nancy Reagan? She was a hoe. She was a little bit of a hoe. She went around town, and it's not like she only sucked dicks of men she dated. No, she apparently, according to this unauthorized autobiography, Nancy Reagan was sucking dicks of every Nick, Bob, and Jerry. Okay? Maybe black men too, but I don't know, at that time, well, white women love black men, period, even when it was illegal to do so. So she was sucking dick. And there was one point, I think it was in her college years or recently postgraduate, she sucked dick of the guys that she was like carpooling with. They picked them up from Arizona State University, I believe, and she was just going sucking dick, like going, okay, you're done, okay, let's go up to the next, like. Anyway, it's funny. So we know that about Nancy Reagan. She is a throat baby. Let's get into a brief review of the latest episode of Insecure. I feel nostalgic when I watch this show because I remember when it first aired and the position I was in my life, in my career at the time, is way different than where I am today. And though I was still in the same career path when Insecure first came on, I was in a different position. I wasn't in this respected space that I am now. And what I mean by that is when I started off my career in education, I started off as a fellow. And basically a fellow is a TA, but it has a better ring to it. So a TA meaning teacher's assistant. And so I was a fellow. And I was a part of the fellows program at a charter school that I worked at for a few years. And during that time, I was still learning myself and my voice and my place in my career, feeling confident in my decisions as a professional and trusting myself. I was still navigating my way into adulthood. This is right after college and starting graduate school at the same time. So balancing all of that, I was just in a different headspace. And the me now would definitely be so proud, or the me then would be so proud of the woman I've become now. Because I remember when I was in that position, still learning, still growing, still fresh into it, I was not envious, but I was wanting to finally be where I am today. And whenever I saw women in the position that I am right now, mentally, emotionally, and professionally, I respected them, but I wanted that. I was looking at them and was so proud of them, and I was wanting that for my own self. I remember speaking to the vice principal at the school that I started at, and I messaged her privately, and I said to her, I would love to have a sit down with you and just talk about your progression in your career and how did you get to where you are at this point and how I want to get here, and I just don't know what I need to do. I was just kind of lost and trying to find my voice, and it was a humbling time, especially looking back. And this was the time when Insecure first started. And I remember having the conversations with some of my colleagues about Team Lawrence or Team Issa when it came to just the breakdown of their relationship at the time. Anyway, I say all that to say, to see where Insecure is now, and it's just a few episodes, two episodes away from being the done. It's bittersweet. It's bittersweet. I think, of course, I would love to continue to see this show grow, but it's time, and it's it is what it is. And I'm so grateful. I'm making it so personal, but You know, when you watch something, you attach more than just a show. You're attached to where you were in your life at the time of this show. You're attached to the mindset you had at the time of this show. So there's a lot that comes up, and to finally put a close to this chapter is just, wow, you're putting a close to a chapter in my life as well. That's how I also felt about Power. And I was so hurt when Power just came to shits in the last 2 seasons, really, but definitely in the last season. And I remember where I was emotionally and mentally when Power first began. I was post grad, and I was still in grad school, but I was post undergrad. I already had my bachelor's, but I was getting my master's, and I was in my first adult relationship with this guy who was definitely condescending and not who I would date at all today, like at all. And to have been there in my life mentally and emotionally at the time when I was watching Power, and we used to watch Power together. Like, I would go over his house, and we'll watch it together, and then I'll go home, and then that would just be like our thing to do at the time, amongst other things. But anyway, that just so Power attaches me to that time and just where I was mentally and emotionally and all that stuff. Anyway, I'm just like, do you guys feel the same way when you watch certain shows again, or when shows finally come to a close? You remember who you were when it first began? Am I just too reflective? But I just think we all need to be reflective. Anyway, I bring this up to say the fact that Insecure is ending and this trash ass episode happened, I'm disappointed. You know, I just want to know, at what point can a show close and I'm happy with the ending? Right? When Power ended, I was not happy. I was not pleased. Insecure, the episodes this season has been just, all right, here we go. Let's just flush this out. We got to wrap it up. Let's go. That's how it feels like. And watching this episode, having Issa travel back from fantasy to reality, it was extremely annoying to me. Extremely annoying. The theme of Issa still being conflicted about Lawrence and if that door is really closed. This is annoying, and it's getting old. Let's let Issa move on. And yes, but she is moved on. She has Nathan. Does she really have him? Because he seems to be more into the relationship than she is trying to be. Like, she's in it, but she's also still dealing with conflicting feelings about Lawrence. I don't know why it's conflicting when she was the one who finally said, you know what, I can't do this, Lawrence. And she let it go. And yes, sure, she didn't have a proper ending conversation with him. It just kind of abruptly ended. But that's like Issa. Like, she's weird and awkward like that still. No matter how much she has evolved in her character on this show, she is still this weirdo nonetheless. But it's just very tiring that she is so conflicted about Lawrence to this day. Can we let it go? And we don't have to keep on rooting for a couple just because they have history together. Doesn't mean you have a future together. Hello? Did you catch it? Just because you have history doesn't mean you have a future. Anyway, this episode was a filler. I did enjoy Molly and her work bae developing a solid relationship so far. It's pretty mature and admirable to watch. When he didn't get mad that she canceled on him last minute, when he decided to deliver her, or have delivered, because he didn't show up at her house, he arranged for a delivery to be given to her of wings and wine. I thought that was very thoughtful and sweet, especially when you have men nowadays who can't take no and would still try to push themselves on you, even if you said, hey, I can't make it tonight. And they'll say, well, I could come over. It's like, no, nigga, I'm not trying to fuck. I'm not trying to fuck. I can't make it. Like, what are we doing? And so I thought it was very emotionally mature. And look, the bar is fucking low. The fact that I have to even recognize that and say, wow, I think he's very mature for not being mad that he canceled on her, that she canceled on him last minute. Rightfully so, because she had an emotionally exhausting day with her parents talking about their will and the estate and all that. He was mature enough to not push himself on her, and decided to be thoughtful and send wings and wine to her. How beautiful. Just how beautiful. Anyway, yeah, this episode was a dud for the most part, though. I'm tired of seeing, what's his name? Crenshaw, but I forgot his real name. That nigga is fine, though. I remember when I used to watch Queen Sugar, if he was on the show, I wouldn't have been watching it. The show was good when it was good. Now I've been stopped watching it because it just became too soap opera-y. And but anyway, he's on the show now, and he pops up in different episodes, and his presence is just like, okay, like, what are we doing? Are you just there to just give your look? He always gives this look about him. What is his fucking name? Hold on one second. I'm gonna write Queen Sugar because he's one of the main cast members of that show. So I'm gonna tell you, because this bothered me that I can't remember. Kofi Siriboe. Anyway, his name on the show on Queen Sugar is Ralph Angel, but his name is Kofi Siriboe. I'm not sure if I'm saying that last name right, but anyway, his name is Kofi. Y'all know him. He has a way about him that he just looks at you, or he looks at the screen, right? You think he's looking at you, but that is his giveaway face all the time. Like, that's always his face. And it's like, okay, we get it, but like, can we move on? I don't know. At some point, okay, I noticed about myself is that I don't like long moments of like sexy time, of like romantic time. Like, don't stare at me too deeply in my eyes. Like, what are we doing? Are you trying to snatch my soul? Are you trying to snatch my soul? Can we stop locking eyes? It just makes me weird. It just makes me uncomfortable. Like, but I just want to know, what is your intent? What are you doing? And you know, I'm a talker, so I'm gonna make it awkward by talking and be like, okay, so how'd you like your shrimp? Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end the episode here. Thank you guys for listening, and I will check in with you guys tomorrow. Yes, again.